The prescription drug abuse is now seen as an epidemic in this country. And according to the Center for Disease Control, prescription drug overdoses killed more than 100,000 people last year. News organization Newshawk reported in 2011 that drug-related deaths doubled in Santa Barbara County.
In the Drug and Alcohol Division Advisory Board was absolutely instrumental in holding this event, but putting this issue front and center with our professionals that have been working on these issues day in and day out. Welcome everybody to what I think is going to be an extraordinary forum tonight. You're going to see a great film. You're going to hear from extraordinary individuals talking about their insight and perspective on this issue.
It's called SB 727. It would specifically require producers of pharmaceuticals, the pharmaceutical companies, come up with a plan and pay for a pharmaceutical take-back program, very similar to the one that we're lucky enough to have here in our own county.
And I think when we add this panel up, we're just very, very fortunate. Welcome, Dan.
Over the last few years, the nation is facing a major demographical shift in drug abuse, where most of the addiction relates to the younger population.
On the panel, I want to thank you for having me not being the last person on the panel. This topic is one that we all need to take extremely seriously because prescription drug abuse and accidental overdose of prescription drugs affects everybody in our society. It just literally transcends the socioeconomic spectrum. Every year that I've been the coroner, a multitude of deaths that are attributed in whole or in part to prescription abuse. There's a perception that because a drug is a prescription drug, because it's prescribed by a doctor, because it comes in a nice little bottle with your name on it, that it is somehow safe. Oh, well, there's a bottle of 45 pills that we'll just leave in our medicine cabinets. But the problem is that bottle of pills is susceptible to theft, it's susceptible to accidental usage by young people, it is susceptible
into the wrong hands. And all it takes is a drug and the right brain chemistry and someone trying to escape with some mental illness, someone having stress at home, someone trying to get high. But you put those two together and you have an addiction process. There's patients that I see every day that are on prescription medications that I would never wish for you, but they need them just to survive. And the stigmatism is gone. I can look around this room and I don't know what prescription medications you're on.
Very difficult sometimes for people to seek assistance or even admit that there may be a problem with this type of drug abuse for themselves or for a family member. Increasing onslaught of pharmaceutical company advertising to convince us that there is a pill for every problem and that more pills are better. So I greatly admire all of you for coming tonight to learn more about what can be done about it, because obviously we can't find the best solutions if we're unwilling to recognize and discuss the problems.
It can happen to any family, and I think Doreen Farr mentioned that. It's not just lower economic or certain areas that have drug abuse problems. We were in an upper class neighborhood. The gist of it is that he started developing mental illness in his late teens, early 20s. He flunked out of college his first semester. And he started self-medicating with drugs. And right now he's serving a 9-year sentence in state prison. I cannot tell you the horror of going to visit your child in prison. The scariest thing to me about prescription drug abuse is you can't tell if somebody's on these drugs. I remember the cops telling us after he committed his first crime, hey, your son's a drug addict. And I'm like, there's no way. Our son, us? No. He's perfectly normal. He seems perfectly normal.
And I'm one of those doctors that just says no. Can't tell you how often the 18-year-olds ask me for Vicodin. Our community understands that most drugs are really horrible to your liver and your kidney when taken in excess. Narcotics are not the first line. The first line of therapy for pain, acute pain, depending on the situation, is ibuprofen or Tylenol.
But here in the high school, unfortunately, we're starting to see more and more of drugs specifically with pharmaceutical and farm parties, as the kids call them. is what they tell me is I didn't think it would hurt anything. After all, it's not like they were illegal drugs. So parents that have prescription drugs in your medicine cabinets or in your drawers, lock them up. If not from your own children, their friends.
If I go to a doctor for a legitimate condition, I'm given a potential treatment, might be medication, and we're all different. So sometimes we react well, sometimes we don't. I may go back to the doctor, this isn't working out so well for me, and the doctor understands, may adjust that medication and give me a new medication. But they're prohibited from taking the other medication back, so now I'm stuck with it. And so it's not the doctor's fault, now I've got all this medication at my home. We actually started Operation Medicine Cabinet at every one of our stations throughout the county. We have a drop box where people can go anonymously if they choose, it doesn't matter, and they can get rid of all their medications. And even if it's illicit, we don't care. You're welcome to get rid of it in any way you want. But we encourage people to get their medications out of the home, get rid of the excess, especially for our youth. I mean, there's a temptation in there all the time. We take about 2,000 pounds of pills every 4 to 6 months to get destroyed, just from our county. That we have to take a 6-person security team to haul 2 van loads of narcotics, all the way down to Long Beach, where fortunately there's a facility that'll let us destroy it, they'll let us incinerate it. Best way to get rid of it, it's filtered out, nothing goes into the air, nothing goes into the water table. And the reason we don't want it in the water table, by the way, is our current sewage treatment systems, they're not designed to get rid of some of the chemicals that are in pills.
I will take time to go set up surveillance. If you're telling me that this individual is under the influence of all these medications, we'll do a traffic stop because he's weaving all over the road, which is very common, and we've stopped numerous people who are driving under the influence of medication.
Now, a doctor, or you take your kid to a doctor, and they're going to prescribe you Adderall, Ritalin, Vicodin, any opiate, Xanax, Klonopin, Ativan, and they are not asking you your history of addiction. If you have a history of addiction, they are not asking you about your family history of addiction, your history or family history of depression, anxiety, or ADHD. Then you really need to consider if that doctor is going to prescribe you the right medication. That should be a standard.
The most recent years, I have seen an increase in prescription medication abuse and sales. How do they get these medications? Well, what they were doing is they were stealing the prescriptions from physicians' offices. Pretty scary. And the fact that these kids are taking this medication that can potentially seriously harm them and or kill them. These particular individuals are out going to our local junior high schools, to our local high schools, and even elementary schools, and telling these kids, oh, take these pills, blah, 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 you're going to feel a lot better. When it comes to prescription medication, you can see we are facing a battle.
The accountability process is huge, and a lot of times people just walk on eggshells around it, but you have to confront. And you also have to recognize that it may not take effect the first time. Recovery is a process, it's not necessarily an event, and certain people have recovery failures. It's important to stay engaged, and very difficult sometimes as a family member, as a friend, as a neighbor, because oftentimes drug addicts, they will burn every bridge they've ever built, they will destroy every relationship they've ever had, but it's not until finally they actually hit rock bottom that sometimes they actually turn their lives around.